It's time now to bring you the big stories from the weekend here, freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1. You love music, love live radio station. My name is Purple Chopin Martins, and our guest for the morning, Mr. C. Good morning, Monsieur C.
Bonjour, Victor. Bonjour, Chopin.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, Lagos.
All right. Now, there's several ways to reach us live in the studio. WhatsApp is one of them, 0809 4440981. We're on Twitter at Smooth981FM. I want to read your tweets this morning. And
hmm
we're streaming live already.
We are up on youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. If you're on the app, just search for Smooth 981. And of course, you can leave your comments up on that live stream. Make sure you do so that you can join the conversation.
All right, let's begin the conversation this morning with headline from the Punch newspaper today. Students to ground Lagos Airport, police threaten showdown. Now, men of the Lagos State Police Command, Lagos Airport Police Command, and students under the aegis of the National Association of Nigerian Students may be set for a showdown over the students' plan to ground Muritala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, today, Monday. Mr. C.
Okay, Victor. Thank you. Now, we must remember that all of this is happening because the universities have been shut down for at least, I think it's 190 days. I think we're approaching
Hmm.
the 200-day mark if we haven't already gotten there. Now, what exactly are they protesting or why are they choosing to go down this route? Last week, it was the Lagos Ibadan Expressway, and it did cause some discomfort and hardship to people, commuters who ply that expressway. Now, why are they doing this? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Universities are closed, and the political class appears not to be too interested, and that's being generous to them about resolving the matter. Yes, we know that government has set up committees. They've been meeting with ASU. They've held several meetings, and we're not aware of any concrete conclusions that have been reached. Now, ASU maintains they're looking for 200 billion. Now, deep down within ASU, they know they're not going to get all 200 billion now. And I did speak about this last week, and I did say that the federal government will make a commitment to pay at least a portion of that amount as a sign of good faith. Then maybe ASU will be strongly encouraged to call a strike. Now, straight to the story. The students cannot ground the Lagos airport. Yes, it is clear. I hear listeners saying there's a constitutional right to openly gather and protest. That is correct. And the law still stands that you can lawfully gather and protest insofar as you're not breaking the law and you're not causing hardship to other people. Now, the airport is not like any other public space. There are rules and regulations with regards to access to the airport, entry and exit. So yes, they can protest, they can have their banners, they can have their placards, they can demonstrate, they can speak to the media, but they will be going beyond the remit, beyond the lawful provisions of the law if they try to stop any traveler from either getting into the airport or leaving the airport. And that is where the police is coming from. The police has clearly advised you want to protest, that's fine with us. We don't have a problem with that. But you cannot unlawfully prevent people from going in or coming out of the airport. And that is correct.
Now, what if they block the roads leading to the airport?
So there's the thing. Like I said, you cannot legally prevent people from accessing the airport.
But they will tell you that not at the airport. It's just a few distance from the
So
airport.
we're all intelligent, right? We all know where MM2 is.
Mm.
We know the road, we know the two roads that will get you to MM2. So if you block two of those roads from reasonable distances, of course we know that you're preventing access to the airport. Nobody is that unintelligent. So those roadblocks or those obstructions will have to be removed. Now, beyond all of this, yes, protests are good, but Nigerian governments repeatedly have displayed and demonstrated clearly they have little or no shame. Protests rarely move them. The only protest that really shook them to the very foundations was the NSAS protest. And we all saw how that ended. Because for the very first time in a while, we saw the ruling establishment truly frightened. And that informed the response that took place on October 20th. Now, what is the way forward? Nigerian students still protest, still hold your demonstrations, but campaign season is starting, right? All their 16 or 18, no, they're 18 presidential candidates. We can dare say that at least half of them are not serious. So focus on the ones that are serious, appear to be more serious than the others, and ask them these hard, pertinent questions. Funding of education. How do you intend to go about it given the current difficulties we encounter? What is your position on ownership of public universities? What is your position on how they should be run? What is your position on attracting the best minds into academia? What is your position for replacing the lecturers, the academics that have migrated out of Nigeria to better climes? What is your position on ensuring that primary school education, which is the basic foundation, is gotten right? Because we have a lot of teachers at the primary and secondary school level who struggle to read, write properly.
Many questions, and I hope that some of the candidates and all of the candidates will make it their mission to have answers to those questions. We'll see what happens. All right, let's take a look at another article. This next one comes in from the Daily Post. Senate to address 11.03 trillion naira deficit through Finance Amendment Act. Now, we heard this from Senator Sani Musa, who represents Niger East and is the chairman of the Senate Committee on General Services. So he spoke ahead of tomorrow's resumption of lawmakers in the upper and lower legislative chambers. And the president is expected to present the 2023 annual budget pegged at 19.76 trillion naira with a total of 11.03 trillion naira of deficit, and they're looking for ways to get rid of that. So he talked about this, and I want to see if I can quote him here. Well, anyway, basically, just paraphrasing, he said that they're going to be looking to the revenue away from oil, revenue from oil, and to the revenue generating agencies, and expecting them to make either double or triple of their contributions.
Okay, so thank you, Shokwe. I read the story, and the first thing that crossed my mind is I sincerely hope this senator was misquoted completely, because this is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Now, your proposal.
Why would you say that if you have a revenue generating agency, and by the way, we've seen that the revenues have been dropping from these agencies, why wouldn't you make it your mission to make them increase the revenue?
When you're dealing with declining revenues, one of the fastest and most certain ways to show up your revenue is to cut out leakages and overbloated expenditure. In this story, the senator is not quoted as having addressed any of those issues. It simply goes to the fact that we're going to triple the targets given to revenue generating agencies. Excuse me, yes, Senator, who are these agencies supposed to get the money from? Nigerians or foreigners? The economy is already in a very dire situation. Nigerians are really stressed. They're really feeling the impact of a poor state of the economy. You want to triple their targets. So, for example, customs. Are we going to then see custom patrols, custom checkpoints within the city, within the metropolis, within urban areas? Immigration. When you triple their targets, what are you inviting? Chaos, confusion. And in the midst of chaos and confusion, guess what thrives? Bribery, corruption. Now, this is a very lazy way to approach it, and bigger salient questions are not being asked. You have a budget of about 19 trillion, thereabouts, and your deficit is 11 trillion plus. Come on. How?
All right, Mr. C. So you've raised up another valid prong of approach, which is to get rid of wastages and leakages. Makes sense. Why can't we have both of them done at the same time?
No, we can. But you see, I'll tell you where the leakages and the bloated expenditure comes from. More than 60% of our budget goes to recurrent expenditure. What is recurrent expenditure? Salaries, regular payments, salaries, allowances. Now, the National Assembly's note has been notorious since 1999 for one fact. They will never tell you the true value of the allowances they collect. Even to get the exact salary being earned by a senator and a House of Representatives member, it took an eternity to get that information. So then you have legislators who have multiple aides, and you're questioning what are all of them doing? Only for us to read reports. These same legislative aides will come out and demonstrate that they've not been paid for X number of months, X number of years. They don't understand what is going on, but the money is leaving the treasury. Cut down the waste, and it starts with the National Assembly. It starts with the politicians. When they cut down their waste, you'll be shocked at how much we have saved just by doing that. Before we then get to considering whether we should even increase the targets given to revenue generating agencies, because we mustn't forget, we're trying to make Nigeria competitive. If the NPA and the MASA, for example, that are revenue generating agencies, increase the charges, guess who suffers long term? The country. Who are the immediate beneficiaries? Countries like Ghana, countries like Benin.
But Mr. C, other countries have social welfare programs. If we take these jobs that don't need to be there as social welfare programs, what would you say?
Also, Shopper, there's something called reduced or declining productivity. If you've ever been to a ministry, there are a lot of people who are literally loafing and idling away.
That's what you think. They are selling their wares. Thank you very much.
Well, you're not. So ministries are not trade centers, they're not supermarkets, they're not shopping malls. So,
Mr. C, not too many people have confidence in the National Assembly as it stands because they've had more holidays than they've had sit-ins in this year alone. And trust me, just next week, Wednesday, 28th of September, the campaigns begin. So if we even had to take them seriously on this one, when the campaigns begin, how many of them are we going to see at the red or green chambers having plenary?
Hey, this plenary, they talked about the fact that they had to refurbish their
Chambers.
their chambers because since they had come up, they hadn't had any refurbishment done.
More reasons to go and campaign. They will not be there sitting at the National Assembly, is
But
what
they've
we're
done
saying.
some work, is what they're also saying.
Okay.
Let's move
Let's
on.
let's
We've
go
got
to the
more
Nation
stories.
newspaper. Federal government laments poor reading habits. Well, the federal government, through the National Library of Nigeria, commenced 2022 nationwide readership promotion campaign to address the challenge of poor reading culture in Nigeria. And the government lamented the poor reading culture amongst Nigerians, saying it was at a frozen point. What can we do to revive the reading habit in Nigeria, Mr. C? Because, like it or not, we didn't even need this report to know that reading culture in Nigeria has gone below par.
Okay, so thank you, Victor. So let's start this one. We need to divide Nigeria roughly into two groups. There are Nigerians who cannot read, and it's no joke. So that's the first group. They cannot read to save their lives. So you need to teach them how to read before they can even begin to develop the interest in reading. Now there's a second group, those who can read, and then you have to further subdivide that group into those who have a passion for reading, like Chopin, and then those who
Handwriting.
yes, and then those who simply cannot be bothered, or rather be found on the streets of Instagram and Twitter. Now, it is no secret that Nigerians do not like to read, and quick evidence: declining sales of print newspapers.
Or maybe because it's online now.
No. If they love to read, because what you find online is condensed, it's not as full as a full print paper. So that's one of it. Then you look at.
But it's also free.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You're making a point.
Okay, so let me take you up on that. It's also free. Go to the websites and find out how many visits they get daily. That will tell you whether they love to read. Now, you look at your school results, even the students find it difficult reading their own books, the books that will help them in life. How are they expected to read other books? You go to some churches, you go to some religious institutions, and some people twist what should generally be known because people do not read. The same thing about the constitution, same thing about our laws. Many people do not know the laws in Nigeria because they don't read. So you have to change the mindset of the individual first.
Now, I think we have a small problem at hand. A few years ago, there was this trend online. It was even said in local parlance, school na scam, for instance. And then you'd see that the most intelligent in your school days are still job seeking. Some do not even have, proper jobs to do. Whilst those who perhaps sat at the back, for one reason or the other, found themselves doing one thing or the other and are the big boys today. Not encouraging.
So you see,
Oh, by the way, can I just chip in this message from Shego, who says there's a third group, those who want to read, but their lecturers are on strike.
Mm.
true.
There's that.
So there are multiple issues, and then you have people. To add to that, there are people who want to read but don't have access to books, and they live in the hinterlands, hard to reach areas of Nigeria, and maybe for one reason or the other, economic purchasing power, availability of books, they don't have the books to read. Now, what is the solution? The solution is multi-pronged. One is to make more books available. How many libraries do we still have in this country?
So usually, I know that when we talk about solutions to issues, right, we try to make sure that it's not just centralized and everybody's looking at the federal government, but this is the federal government through the National Library of Nigeria. And one thing that you've just brought up, Mr. C, is where are the libraries?
So, yes, where are the libraries? How many schools have proper libraries today? And when you get to the library, how many of the books are relevant, are current, are helpful? So these are some of the issues that need to be fixed. But the general economic downturn and the mental shift has to be addressed, because if people continue to see those who do not go to school in quote or are not serious in school making it in life, and then those who Victor properly put it, having studied properly, gone through the four walls of the school,
Now living that
and are
big boy life.
struggling to make ends
That
meet,
was the other one.
there will be little encouragement for anyone to read the books going forward. Take case in point, musicians, footballers are earning crazy sums of money. And you tell a young guy, you need to sit down and read your books and then become a doctor. And he says, doctors they don't pay. Or the doctors running out of Nigeria.
Or lecturers.
Let's keep it going.
Okay. Next story that we are gonna have a look at is this one in from the Vanguard. NLC challenges APC and others to campaign with subsidy removal and sale of refineries. Mrs. C, I'll just come to you for
Okay, so
in more depth.
very quickly, they challenged them to come out and campaign fully with their chest what they really want to do, which is they want to sell the public refineries, and they want to remove they plan to remove the subsidy removal. Now, everyone or some people will agree that this whole issue of subsidy payment has been very opaque. It's not transparent. It's not clear. True, there has been no official explanation that actually makes any sense as to why the refineries have not been working consistently over at least the past 7 years of this administration.
Now, Mrs. C, in recent times, in the past couple of weeks, it's just been dominating news on the African front, where we've seen countries like Tunisia, countries like Kenya, and other countries as well doing away with fuel subsidy and coming out in clear, strong terms to say that it is not helping anyone. It's yeah, and all the other things that we've already said about fuel subsidy, they have said it whilst putting the words to action.
So the APC is playing games with Nigeria. This fuel subsidy needs to go like yesterday, but they want to leave it in place because they don't want to face the backlash of the removal of the fuel subsidy. The truth is, as a nation, we have not been able to afford that subsidy, and we cannot continue to have it in place. Having said that, they're asking for an issue-based campaign. Now, particularly for the APC, I don't see how they're going to do that. You've been in power for 7 years. You've done a very bad job. I'm sorry to say it. There have been more negatives than positives. Yes, there have been positives from this administration in terms of security, in terms of energy, but generally it has been a very poor performance. So if they want to campaign on the basis of issues, what issues are they going to hold up and request for more time from Nigerians to fix? Nigerians who have gone through 7 years of this administration, do they have the capacity? Do they have the stamina? Do they have the willpower to go through another 4 years of this? I don't think the answer is yes.
Let's look through some of your messages that have come in already. Emeka from Amuwo says, during the last interview I conducted, I met university graduates that couldn't differentiate thought from taught. It's bad. Perhaps, thinking and past tense of to teach.
Yes. Anne says full versions of newspapers are available via subscriptions.
The reading problem isn't just in Nigeria, but that's a conversation for another day. I'm just wondering, how can a government with little or no plans to invest in education be claiming to care how much reading the people do? Chibuike
Hmm.
sends that
Now that
across.
is a question. Kazim says newspapers online are in full and not free at all. The exact newspaper content is available online, but you need to subscribe and pay for it to receive it. The government has not incentivized reading. Schools are closed. ASU is on strike. 70% of the population is below the poverty line. Reading will not be a priority under those conditions.
And Yak is saying using declining newspaper sales to buttress lack of reading in Nigeria isn't too good. Newspaper readership worldwide is declining.
That is
Publishers are
true.
struggling. It's not only a Nigerian phenomenon.
It's
Yak is in Ikoyi.
that's true. Yeah, fair point. Fabian from Macbeth says, when I was in primary and secondary school, reading culture was encouraged. The government and NGOs need to go back to the basics and put things in place to recreate the reading culture. From the way some of our leaders or their representatives speak and behave, it's obvious that well, you can say what you want to say. He says it's obvious that they don't read.
I was in Unilag in 2007 preparing for an examination, computer architecture. Our professor came around and checked the book we were reading for the course. He said he read the same book for the same course in 1977. That's the
Computers.
state of our
Oh
libraries.
wow. Isn't that just the dates you want to hear when you're talking about computers? Cisco Delgado says, Mrs. I agree with you that Nigerians don't read, but the saying that online e-books aren't detailed? Oh, do
He
you
was
mean
referring to
the news
newspapers,
articles?
newspapers.
Okay, I think that's what you're talking about. Aren't detailed is not true. Remember, we're in an information superhighway age where everything is going Internet of Things and Internet of Everything. I would rather say that Nigerians don't research. Oh, more messages.
Okay. Mr. C has made some really incisive comments, which I couldn't agree with. Who increases budget and revenue by 300%? We have lawmakers who seem more bereft of ideas, and it's sad.
And we'll take this. Mary from Festac says, my point about the library and reading habits boils down to primary and secondary school, which has also killed the passion for reading. I'm aware that some government schools have libraries, but they are under lock and key. No access for the students, while some do not even have a library. The reading culture needs to start from the early stages and not just at the tertiary places where they try to enforce reading. When I was in secondary school, we had library time on our timetables. Oh, wasn't that a fun thing? Um, we need to revise the educational sector, says Mary.
All right, let's see if we can take some more stories before we go. Your messages are coming in your numbers, but hey, let's look at this one from Daily Post. Insecurity. Civil defense begins training of private guards on intelligence gathering. And following endless security challenges across the country, the NSCDC has commenced training on intelligence gathering with private security guards in Abuja.
Okay, so very quickly, this is a very good and commendable job from the NSCDC because they've realized they cannot do it alone. They've realized the police cannot also do it alone, and we all have to join hands together to ensure that we can get the security we want and desire. So they've gotten operators from private security companies and given them a crash course on intelligence gathering. Now, I don't know how long this conference or this training is supposed to last for, but intelligence training, gathering training, is continuous. So it cannot be a one off exercise. It has to be a continuous activity and it should be spread across the nation. So Yes, they started from Abuja, but we'll love to see this being carried out in other states of the country.
All right. Oh, I'm just looking. Do we need more? No, I think we need to take another story. So let's take our last story for the day. It comes in from the Daily Trust. Saludo. Unknown gunmen are Igbo, no criminal from other region invading Anambra. This was in a Saturday interview on Channel Television. Former Central Bank of Nigeria governor said, and I quote, they are not unknown gunmen. They are unknown to the extent that maybe they're not caught immediately, but I can tell you we've been catching quite a lot of them, and they already know that Anambra is not safe for them anymore. Let me be clear about it. 100% of the people we have caught are Igbo. There is no hoax that someone is invading from somewhere. I have to say, this is obviously a callback to certain statements that we've heard from the center. But Mr. C, what would you say to this?
Okay. These are very interesting comments coming from a governor who's not known for talking flippantly or carelessly. So clearly he's done his homework, clearly he's done his investigations, and it is clear even to those of us who are from the southeast that the people perpetrating these offenses, these crimes, actually Igbos. They know the layout of the land. They're just criminals. They're criminal Igbos. That's all there is to it. This nonsense of unknown gunmen has to stop. Maybe they're unknown because they don't know their exact names. But if you have the misfortune of ever encountering these criminals, you will know they're Igbo because that's what they converse in. They converse in Igbo and English, and then a mix of pidgin. So he knows what he's talking about. And some of these gunmen come from neighboring Igbo states into Anambra. Why Anambra? Anambra state is easily the richest state in the southeast. That state has more billionaires in Naira than the rest of the southeast put together. So it makes more sense to concentrate on Anambra state. If you don't get a billionaire, you'll get a multi-millionaire. So the ransoms keep coming in, and according to Governor Sulu, they set up about 15 or 18 camps in about 8 local governments. And these are the camps they've been able to identify. There might be camps they've not yet identified. So
there's been it's been quite easy to use IPOB as a catch-all for the violence that's been going on in this region of the country, but he's very clearly talked about the fact that IPOB have repeatedly distanced itself from the criminal activities going on.
Correct. Remember that when he assumed office, one of the first things he did was to visit Nnamdi Kanu, ostensibly on this matter. And then Nnamdi Kanu, I want to believe, gave him assurances that IPOB was not behind all of this, and the people they've caught when interrogated have not indicated or not suggested or been found to have been members of IPOB. So yes, he's probably correct. I want to believe his version, his account, that these are not IPOB members, they're just criminals who are perpetrating their criminality unchecked.
All right, that's about it. Do we take some messages?
So we see all of your messages. I think you already know what you want to talk about for Lagos Talks.
That's right. Let's talk about this for Lagos Talks, reading culture in Nigeria. Be part of it at 9 o'clock today. So at 8:15, we're getting right inside the locker room. Let's talk the reign of Arsenal.
He's going to keep. I knew you were going to talk Arsenal already.
Top of the table.
As soon as Peppo says sports or locker room and then smiles, you know he's going to have something to say about.
We're
Arsenal.
still getting there. I mean, we're still top of that Premier League table. Shakwa, are you coming back or not? Are you sticking with Man U or not?
Man U, when did I ever touch Man U?
No, you left us now for Man U.
I didn't.
Okay, let's keep this for locker room. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you, Mr. C, for being a part of the show.
Yes, make sure you find him. He's on social media at Monsieur C. Start with Twitter, then go wider.
Oh my goodness, there's an update here. Roads leading to the airport have heavy security presence, and the students are also out sharing pamphlets. Local airport is also on high alert. Security patrols are all on the road. Thank you, DG, for that update.
People, as you're going about on the roads, and if you're going to any of the roads leading to the airport, be careful, be safe. Remember, your life is precious and important.
That's about it. My name is Peppo.
I'm Shakwa Martins. Coming up, 8:15, The Locker Room.
The headlines. The stories.
Thank you.
I think I forgot to check out the YouTube messages.
YouTube.
For the first time in my life, I didn't look at the YouTube messages. I'm
How
so
time
sorry.
flies.
I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
What are the messages?
I'm having a look.
Okay.
All right, and we are done with Freshly Pressed. Mrs. C, wave goodbye, wave goodbye. Goodbye.